This is printmaking, and we're doing relief printing. Both of us are doing relief and intaglio. And intaglio is a metal plate that has a layer of ground on it, which is like a paint, and lines are scratched through that for the drawing, allowing the acid to go into those lines and make them deeper and more pronounced. And then the ground is removed, ink is applied to the plate and rubbed off so it only stays in the lines, and then dampened paper is put on top and it goes through a press. And then you just keep doing additional prints, re-inking each time and putting it through the press. Whereas relief is a little bit different. It's like a linoleum that you use carving tools to take out certain areas and remove them. And the areas that are raised or left are the area that gets the ink when you go over it later with a brayer. So the areas that are cut out remain white. So you got your positive and your negative. And then you can play around with getting different patterns by doing like lines that are very close together or further apart, so you can get a variety of mark-making images. When I used to do more painting, I hated selling my painting because I wanted it back. As soon as I sold it, I wanted it back. So this way, at least you can have a copy, and sell one or give one away. It's a little bit nicer.
We used to teach together, actually, so we both have that in common. We used to teach at the same building, the same studio, and she retired just a year and a half ago, so she was sort of in the same area of her career as me, and that she wanted to get her art out there, so it just seemed like a great synergy to work together. A lot of the same inspiration comes from travel for the two of us, so even though we may be looking at different places, we're still kind of approaching it the same way. We're both printmakers. We predominantly work in two printmaking milieus, so you'll see them both here. We have relief prints. We work in lino, so we carve lino and then put it through an etching press. And then we have intaglio pieces here, so you'll see a lot of zinc and copper etchings, which are hard etchings, and also intaglio with the aqua tint as well. You kind of have to be a little bit of a glutton for punishment. What I love about the fact that it is so incredibly unforgiving, one false move in either milieu of relief or in intaglio, and you're kind of, okay, that's going to be part of my work whether I like it or not. But what I love about that is that the constraints of the actual process that you're using and the actual media helps you to actually explore your subject matter better, I find, because it forces you to distill what you're trying to say and what you're trying to communicate. And so even though it's very fiddly, technical process, but you need to be on point with what you're trying to say, so that when that gremlin gets into the machines, it actually is part of the overall process. Those weird mistakes actually become part of what you're doing, and you expect them.
Goes back to the 15th, 16th century. Zinc is a cheaper plate, and copper is what a lot of the masters used. Copper is a lot more expensive, but it has a much more sensitive surface for accepting lines and variation of lines, and it's quite nice to work with. And then, of course, there's an acid bath that you have to put it in. There's a lot of materials you need to do printmaking. You need a press, you need all that stuff.
In some cases, yes, absolutely. Some of the things that we use, such as powdered pine sap, it's a carcinogen, and so you have to think about ways of making it non-toxic, but also trying to find it in the first place. The copper plate, copper is something that's very hard to find even in plumbing supplies, let alone for artists. And so, yes, it's a premium product, but in the long run, it's a labor of love, and so you have to kind of just factor that into the whole process.
Most of the time I use heavy watercolor paper that's archivable. There is one that I did Japanese paper just because I thought it suited the image a little bit more. But all of them are archivable and different textures, different colors, and trying to get paper that worked with my frames that are the same color so you weren't all over with the off-whites and the whites. So there's a lot of planning to try and get all those things working together.
it is very unforgiving, the process, and so having something that's black and white actually shows off to people who know printmaking that you're spot on. It's a very unforgiving color, black. It's either there or it's not. But it also, again, it's a distillate of the subject matter and what I'm trying to communicate. The starkness of the color means that the actual subject matter comes out more vividly, I guess. That group of work is called Strong Women and Octopi, and it plays with iconic images of women from the 30s, 40s, and 50s. So, for example, the one that has the octopus on the leash, it's a take on the French woman with the poodle. The other one with wearing the octopus, it's sort of like Errol Flynn, that sort of idea. So the idea is the absurdity of having the octopus is almost mimics the absurdity of the iconography in the first place. You can't be an icon, you can only be yourself. And so this is sort of, these iconic women are being themselves. By virtue of having that mysterious element of the octopus. The chameleon-esque shape-shifting of the octopus is also the woman herself, so it's sort of a take on that.
When you're doing print, you have to be really conscious of your composition because you can't get away with color. Like color can also be smoke and mirrors. It can be distracting. It can be a focal point. It can be something that fades into the distance with perspective. With black and white, it's black and it's white, and so you have to create your half tones with texture. So I think it's a lot more of a challenge, but I also get a big kick out of the challenge and trying to make that various textures and depth, which is harder to do. But it's a challenge. And once you cut something out, you cannot put it back. So if you screw up the eyeball at the end, that's it. You have to start all over again.